In 2019, the local police in Serbia was facing the ultimate puzzle, solving the triangle of death. What started as one case ended up as never-ending riddle of twists and turns, which prompted the police to go way and beyond in order to get answers. A couple of days before his disappearance, Drago came from Germany with a larger sum of earned money. The local detectives first head into the village which Dragan often visited. There was an information that he was intending to invest his money into real estate, which prompted the police to turn their suspicions towards self-interest. Just a few days later, the new information that could be connected to the case arrives. Since the gas tap was found on the opposite side of the vehicle, it wasn't indicating on an explosion after the fire. Somebody took off the gas top and placed it manually on the other side. However, finding the car was only the beginning. Very soon, the police was faced with a set of circumstances that turned this case on a completely different and unexpected path. When they used the hydraulics to lift and move the car, they saw charred human parts, with some of them being completely destroyed by fire. The whole scene was a nightmare. At that point it was very difficult to identify the body or vehicle. License plates were also completely destroyed. So it was hard to say if this crime scene was Dragoljub's demise, and if this is the actual body of Dragoljub Mitrovic. After examining it in details, it was established that the body was lying on the back and a piece of a leather jacket was placed underneath. The investigators also found a pair of keys, as well as one bullet shell that belonged to Magnum 357. At that time, there wasn't a single doubt. They had a murder case. However, they soon find another very concrete evidence, a footprint. The print was very fresh, and it looked like it came from a woman's shoe, and the lab results just confirmed our assumptions. The police turned the investigation towards that lead, and they examined the wreck in more detail. They soon find a pack of foreign coins, which indicates even more that the body underneath the car could be Dragoljub Mitrovic. The more intensive search for a culprit and possible eyewitnesses begins, and they get results fast. About 1 AM, a couple of locals heard 3 gunshots, and soon approximately 10 minutes after that, saw a big fire in the same direction. Everything so far pointed that the investigation is going well, until one phone call. We got a call that a body of an elderly lady was in the vicinity of the Despotovac city. The fact that a 19-year-old helpless woman was first violated and then strangled clearly indicated to the police with what kind of monster they will have to deal with. They also noticed that the wedding ring was missing, and after further examination of the crime scene, they also found a burned out cigarette. But it could be anyone. Neighbor, relative, occasional guest, so they sent it to the DNA analysis and got a match they hoped for. It is the same person who committed this horrific act. The only question is, who is it? Now the Jagodina Police Department faces 2 difficult tasks ahead of them. The fire victim, which was still not identified, but could be Dragoljub Mitrovic, and the horrific end of an old lady. While one group conducts the further investigation of the house and yard, other group is searching and trying to get a match on that woman's shoe. They start scouring the whole city and all shops that sell women's footwear in the hopes of finding the matching pattern, but without success. The search grid spreads even on the local surrounding places and flea markets, but still doesn't give results. Then a new tip from one local in another close city of Chupria came in. It was about a vehicle that was found close to railroad with the keys still in ignition and ID beside. It was the car of Dragoljub Mitrovic. This new lead turns the investigation completely into chaos. If this is his car, then whose car was burned? And more important, whose body was underneath? The discovery of the third body made some things clear and some even more messed up. The body had 2 gunshot wounds and it was in the grass beside the road. It was Dragoljub's body. And now the police has 3 cases. Find the person who shot Dragan, find the person who took the life of an old lady, and solve the confusing burned car and charred body case. And they soon get a break in the third one as they identify the body as Skender Mehmedi, who was also working in Germany but was in a nearby village at a time. The forensic crew heads straight to his house, while the other team finds new evidence at Dragan's crime scene. Magnum 357 bullet shell under his head, which was the same one found at a car wreck. Both of them were shot with the same weapon. Both were working in Germany at a time, and both were found in a radius of 20 kilometers. Was this work of a potential serial killer? Who targeted this kind of people? And more importantly, judging by the evidence, was this killer a woman?
Došli smo do saznanja da ga je supruga, nevenčana supruga napustila i da je otišla da živi kod brata u Kragujevac. Također da je on tog dana, prethodnog dana bio kod nje u Kragujevcu, pokušao da je vrati nazad. Došli smo do saznanja da je pokojni Skender na prevaran način došao u posjed kuće njegove žene tako što je nagovorio da mu istu prepiše, što je ona i učinila.
As soon as they step into his wife's house, they spot the crucial evidence. Was this woman indeed a cold-blooded killer?
Detaljnim pregledom te obuće uočili smo tragove nalik na krv. Tada smo pristupili pretresu daljeg kuće. Našli smo donji deo trenerke, ženske trenerke, sa tragovima nalik na krv. Na putničkom vozilu koje se nalazilo u kući, Fiat, odnosno Zastava 101, na prednjem poklopcu motora našli smo tragove nalik na krv. Tog momenta to nam je ukazivalo da je ta žena verovatni izvršilac navedenog krivičnog dela.
Back at the police station, the woman casually denies all the accusations even with the evidence presented. And she also said that in the time of the crimes, she wasn't even in that area, but with her brother in another city. While the investigation rolls, the police receives another tip. On the same day when Dragoljub went missing, he was seen in front of a local nightclub, approximately 30 kilometers from where his body was found. According to eyewitnesses, on that fatal night, he picked up 2 female hitchhikers. The police now begins to work on uncovering the identity of the girls seen with Dragoljub, but the main suspect for the murder of Mehmedi is still in the custody. If they manage to prove that she was responsible for her husband's death, it also might resolve the question, was Dragoljub her victim as well? However, the blood results came in and showed that the blood found on shoes and clothes was in fact animal blood. She explained that she was slaughtering chickens on that day, but that only gave her a partial alibi. The shoe pattern was really rare and size matched as well, as she just couldn't explain how that got on the crime scene. The police continues further and speaks with the locals, which soon reveal a completely new story, the one which detectives didn't know about. Beside his wife, Skender Mehmedi led a secret life with another woman. After digging into it, it was found that that woman has an interesting background. Her husband was in jail and she didn't have enough money to keep her and her 2 children afloat. She was also included in a shady company consisted of ex-cons which smuggled goods and illegal substances. One of 3 friends of that woman was actually with Mehmedi the night he was last seen. Police starts to investigate the ground and find some really interesting things. We found out that some of them repaid their debts after the crimes committed.
Tada smo odlučili da ista lica privedemo i da izvršimo pretrese njihovih kuća i stanova.
They didn't manage to find anything until they lifted the doorstep. Underneath was a ring which fit the description from a deceased Mehmedi. The police also found numerous evidence in the other houses that implicated that the rest of the gang is on it as well. And after they were faced with the evidence, they started spilling the beans, and the horrific story started to unfold. Due to the fact that Mehmedi's mistress was in a big debts and her husband was supposed to go out of prison soon, she needed to get some cash and get it fast. Since Mehmedi just came from Germany and had about $50,000 with himself, she decided he would be an easy target and suggested idea to rest of the group. And after they all agreed, they came up with a devious plan. Mehmedi was known to love the female company, so they arranged the meeting with one of her friends in a nearby local village. They all got into the car headed towards her. The problem was that girl never existed and it was a one-way trip. After they turned from the main road, they got out of the car and one of the participants shot Mehmedi 6 times in total. But what was the problem? Even after that, he was alive. So the group decided to go full savage, and with his car they head back, reload the gun with new 6 rounds and went back to finish the job. After that they decided to destroy everything with a fire and share what they think they got. However, it was a complete opposite. Instead of $50,000, Skender only had a couple of $100 with him. However, one question still remained a mystery. How the shoes from Skender's mistress ended up with his actual wife? It turns out that when Skender was in Italy, he purchased 2 pairs of exact same shoes, which he then gifted to his wife and to the woman that killed them. The innocent woman was released from the custody, and with that, the case of Skender Mehmedi and the burned car was solved. But that leads us back to Drago Mitrovic, who was still last seen alive with 2 hitchhikers he picked up after the nightclub. After some digging and description from the locals, police managed to identify the 2 girls in question and bring them to questioning. And while one of them was denying any kind of involvement, the other one cracked and decided to tell the whole story. After the party, they decided to look for a car which would transport them back to the community. Drago Mitrovic was in the wrong place at the wrong time and picked them up. During the ride, Drago asked them how much money they make and if they would like to go with him in Germany, because he allegedly has a really good opportunity for them to make a lot of money very fast. That seemed very interesting until it was revealed that the idea is to sell their bodies. They forced him to stop and got out at the exact same spot where the car was later found, close to railroad. The girls tried to walk away, but he followed and assaulted them, and at one point he tried to physically hurt them. In that moment, one of the girls pulled a gun, the same Magnum 357, and shot him. From a confusing puzzle, the police now had 2 solved cases in their hands, which left them only with a 3rd one. They still had to find the monster who took the life of an old innocent lady.
Prvi krug osumnjičenih, prvi krug komšija, ne znam, loših odnosa, familije, razmirica u familiji. Kad to iscrpemo i kad tu nemamo, i tu ne možemo da nađemo motiv, mislim ovde je motiv neverovatan, da neko siluje staricu od 94 godina i da pritom iskoristi nešto da skine sa ruke, koji tu motiv ja mogu da vidim. Znači, to je osoba koja je poremećena, mentalno poremećena osoba. Znači, ja to moram da tražim u selu. Ja sam siguran bio da to je tu, blizu.
After the lead investigator interviewed over 50 people in a small village, he finally caught a break when a culprit offered his help. He just couldn't stay away from the crime scene and was visiting often to ask the police if there is any new leads, how is the investigation going, and if he can maybe help in some way. All that pointed to some very suspicious behavior, and the police decided to take a burned out cigarette he smoked one day and test it for a match with the one they found inside the house, and it was a hit. The culprit was a man not older than 30. With him being arrested and all 3 cases being solved, that led to an end of this exhausting puzzle. 3 cases with confusing trails and 3 cases with totally different timelines and culprits.